they don't believe enough in their own intelligence and their own ability to discern and put pieces together and cross-reference, whether it's something that you're researching for like a decade at a time. I think the quote was, I'm not sure if it was Mark Twain or what, but the mark of an intelligent mind is to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it. So the longer you can do that with a topic and keep it around and say, you know what, I don't believe you yet, but you definitely give me something to think about. And then boom, 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 boom. Throughout a decade, you're cross-referencing that same thing through, different origin stories, texts, scriptures, conspiracies, whatever. That's one of the keys. And people just they don't even have the willpower to do that, for the most part. That's why
don't you wonder why? Because these topics to me are so compelling. They've got
them in the pit of Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Alec Baldwin, knowing what we do now about him, right? The Alec Baldwin commercial about 5 or 6 years ago for Hulu?
Yes.
Where he's a fucking snake
and he goes
alien,
down.
and he's like, "Oh, we're just trying to melt your brain. It's no big deal, So they're very.
But when that came out, didn't you go, he's making fun of things that are actually true?
The truth is spoken in jest, and most people.
Isn't that true? Wow.
They don't know how that works.
It's becoming more. I mean, maybe it's because I'm more awake, but the stuff that I see, these Luciferians, part of their deal is they have to get permission, and they disclose that stuff right in your face. Movies, TV show, all this stuff.
Yep. Predictive programming. Yeah, exactly. Mastered. I've always called them dark occultists that basically are masters of an ancient form of like psychiatry or psychology. They understand better than we do how the subconscious works.
Well, the new term running around nowadays that everybody's talking about, this mass formation psychosis.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing, and I've been looking into it. Oh, I know. That's just like the entry level shit right there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But it's funny you had mentioned about being open to ideas and just sticking it back there, and then developing other stuff. I was watching a video on YouTube of a David Icke talking about his awakening, and that's what he did. Yeah, he would be open to stuff, and he would say, "Hey, I may not believe this now, but I'm just going to put this back there on the back burner," and then over time, things would add to it.
Then like, holy shit, I read about that, and
This is what I tell my extremely not conservative kids, is that just because mom is watching a video on her phone right now of Sasquatch does not mean that mommy believes in Sasquatch. You can't credit me for that. Just because I'm open to everything. I want to see everything. I want to read everything. I want to discover everything. I got flat Earth on my radar that's sitting back there being processed through a lot of different channels.
Nothing wrong with that. They don't want you to even question it is the problem.
Exactly.
And it's it's not because the Earth is flat. It's because that there is something true about that dumb theory that they're basically hiding God with that theory.
That's what I think is going on too. But
it doesn't mean
like
it's
you're saying, it's still a sphere, but it might be flat in the middle somehow. That's my current reigning theory that I'm running through.
It's more like a mix. It's like a mix of what we've thought was reality the whole time and the simulation theory. And it gets a little transcendental. It has to do with the double slit experiment and the observer changing the outcome of the experiment, basically. So,
but after watching that Dave Icke thing, the very next morning, I'm sitting prepping for my show, and all of a sudden, I also found this YouTube channel called Inspire, is the name of the channel, and they have a bunch of short videos from guys like Max Egan, kinds of different. It's a great channel, short videos, lots of information. But anyway, I was prepping, and this thought just came into my mind, and I wrote it down. I hardly ever do this and write things down, so it was a download type thing. So here's what I wrote. To enact consciousness, we need to be open to ideas, beliefs, and paradigms that are different or contrary to our programming. Yeah, we gotta let consciousness in, but you have to be open, like you said, to, flat earth, whatever. Hey, I might not believe that now, but that's sitting back there. And as I gain more information,
bugging me about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So all these different things that I'm moving, progressively understanding more, and those things that I may not believe 100% are on the back burner. As I gain information, they're moving closer to the front burner.
Yeah.
Right.
And it could be just something that you just take one core little piece of it in the end. It doesn't have to be the whole thing.
Right. Right.
So kind of like the, you could pick anything like the moon landings.
Yeah. Those taped together.
I believe the footage is fake, but I know that they actually went. I just know more so than a lot of the public what they encountered when they went, and they don't want us to see that,
Well, yeah, I mean,
about that.
The secret space program stuff. That's one of those on the back burner things. I've heard people make comments, videos I watched or something I've read. Humans living on Mars who've never been to Earth. They've been born there.
Yeah, there's different versions of that are coming out. I'd say it's more like these people are in a military. That's like a paramilitary program, and these people may think that they're born on Mars, but that's just kind of like a temporary condition while they're in said program, if you catch my drift. It involves a shitload of hyper advanced technology. I don't know how else to...
Did you watch any of the video that I posted on my channel? It came out recently, the Jason Shurka interview with the guy named Ray from the light system, the TLS guy.
Well, I resonate with a couple of things he was saying. Yeah, we'll see as more comes out.
Right. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more.
I'm at the very beginning of this journey. I think I've come so far, and then I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even started yet. I haven't even started.
Oh, I know. No, I know.
Yeah. Well, even those of us who were this deep before we started to get this public unraveling, all of us are kind of starting from square one anyways, because you're kind of, even if you were researching this kind of thing deeply 10 years ago, you're kind of re-experiencing it with everybody else who's starting from square one, and you're parsing everything out with them, and it's different in reality when it's just things that when you're putting it together spiritually and using discernment over the course of your life and whatnot. But when it comes out like this, it's a little different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've been focusing on is and telling other people on my shows, more often than not, is that us awakened people need to continue to develop and learn and, ascend our consciousness, because when the disclosure really starts happening, the real stuff, the normies, they're going to need people like us to help guide them along, to keep them from their head exploding. They're going to need, guidance and being able to have somebody explain or try to explain, what has been going on and why it is now that they're just seeing this stuff. So it's, up to us, the light workers, can call it.
I believe that's already happening.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's been happening since March 2020, Those of us who were trying to warn about cytokine storms, instead of putting people on ventilators really early on, and, what SARS actually was as it moved from the sinuses to the lungs, or SARS-2, whatever they want to call it. So, yeah, it's already been in effect. We're just getting started, though. I mean, at this point, we basically have. Did you guys see the military documents that Veritas dropped? I think it was last week.
Yes.
April and May of 2020, they knew that hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin were the cures for the thing. Even Dr. Zelenko says back in 2012, Richard Barrick, who's the one guy who made the virus, had the cure or the antidote for the virus back in 2012, which was zinc with the the zinc ionosphere to
Ionophore,
the whole the bullet and the gun thing. Zinc is the bullet, and hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin or quercetin is the gun.
Yeah.
And another doctor came out was on Joe Rogan's show, or Joe Rogan talked about this doctor. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he says he's treated over 200 congressmen and their staff with ivermectin and stuff the whole time.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. So the military documents that Veritas dropped basically confirmed all of I guess summer of 2020 when Trump was talking in the press briefings about hydroxychloroquine. This is basically revealing that he was literally regurgitating what I'm pretty sure it was the Department of Defense was giving him. Wow. And then the press and Fauci just immediately flip everything on him and try to make him look crazy. So it even goes deeper than that with, I'm pretty sure it was DARPA that was involved somehow with Fauci at the start of all this. So you have an overt intrusion by the military-industrial complex, and that's translated into a federal overgrab of power and control. Yep. And so, it's basically a belligerent occupation openly. And to borrow a term from British politics, Trump's running a shadow cabinet. He basically has a shadow cabinet in waiting, and they've set up land markers ahead of time, right? Because they have fucking supercomputers and everything gaming these scenarios and running the statistics on everything. They openly claim it's days ahead of time.
I heard that CERN was at least 2 to 3 days ahead of time.
That may be a different thing you're talking about. I heard about that too. This is coming from, I think his name is Van Herk. But,
he's been openly saying that then.
Oh, yeah. They've been giving briefings about what they have for a long time. But the key is, if they're telling us about it now, it means that they've mastered it at least a decade. Yeah, probably way longer than that. Or it was in some R&D program for God knows how long before it was rolled out officially. Just like smartphones and tablets are basically military technology. They were patented to control drones. So, and they were just repurposed by, society for social engineering purposes. Yep. So it gets pretty deep. So anyways, you have DARPA being outed with Fauci, which I don't think anything's going to come of that, because, they always do the switcheroo where, Cuomo wasn't ousted for the nursing home blood on his hands. It was really for some other side issue. And, all these people get scapegoated for some reason other than the main one so that they can protect the system. But it's
the next person that's going to need to fall on their sword, that probably will, the next domino to fall, is that Walensky of the CDC. She's going to be the next one to be. She's going to be the scapegoat, for all the bullshit that's going on.
That would make sense.
That'll be the next one.
They're not going to throw Fauci under the bus eventually, because they're sure setting it up.
Well, you heard it.
He will.
You heard it here first. I think PETA is going to take Fauci down. I think more is going to. Yeah, I think even more is going to come out about that, because people don't care. They act like they care about people, and they're like, "Oh, wear a mask for the people," and right? But so much has come out about extortion, crimes against humanity, human trafficking. Nobody gives a fuck, right?
They don't.
So, but a story about little puppies, whatever it takes at this point,
Oh yeah, he's not going to be the first one, but he's definitely. Going down. I could see the dominoes starting to fall. I mean, it's kind of odd over in the UK. I just saw this tonight that Boris Johnson's dropping all the mandates, for vaccine, all the restrictions, lockdowns. Boris is ending it.
Yeah, they're also everything.
They're going to make sure it all comes down just in time for the elections.
No, what it is not just the elections, but I think there's going to be a massive drop and spike off a spike of the corona stuff, the whole narrative before March 1st, which is the alleged State of the Union, so that Biden can claim some type of victory. I shut down the virus. Because Omicron is already falling. You can see
being openly questioned about their failures today, actually, and they don't have answers for it. So that's exactly right. Yeah.
So that's. I mean, I read that, got that idea. I didn't come up with it myself. Give credit to Jeff Childers, an attorney from Gainesville. He has his little newsletter he put out. He was one of the first guys in Florida to win a court case against mask mandates way in the beginning of this thing, but he has this newsletter called Coffee and COVID that he puts out every day, giving news and information on this and that. And it was like a week or so ago. He's like, "Watch it, it's going to happen." They're everything's falling apart. The narrative, the cases, the changing of the testing, all that stuff, and they want to have it happen before March 1st so that Biden can claim some type of victory in his speech on March 1st, if he makes it that long.
Just like Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And nobody's talking about that. That's been memory hold. There's still Americans stuck over there.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
Well, it's
nobody cares.
That's why people care.
How do people?
The word's not getting out.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
If the masses knew, it would be.
You're right, but at the same time, though, it's also not that people are heartless. It's that people. It's a product of being demoralized. It's like a desensitization. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Australia should be international crisis number #1 for everybody right now.
I've heard from some friends that live in Australia that they're saying it's not actually happening here. That is just a bunch of fluff and crap that is happening in 1 or 2 cities that they're really advertising. I don't know how true that is.
That makes sense because they try to make everything in their little digital echo chamber public square look like the majority. So that's probably closer to the truth. But in those areas, it is probably extreme, just like in New York. And, you have old ladies in wheelchairs in a restaurant getting fucking arrested for vaccine passports. I mean, what more do people have to see? What does that sound like?
The tennis player, that Djokovic guy, him not being able to play or getting kicked out of the country for not being vaxxed and all that stuff. That was the big news. Everybody's to try to point and look over there. Yeah, I read. It was on Disclosed TV. It was on Telegram that he, after he got left Australia, he bought 80% share in some biotech company to come up with different COVID treatments or something. So I don't know how true that is. I just saw it was a blurb on Telegram on the Disclosed TV Telegram. So there's stuff.
What about the 600% increase in athletes dropping on the field in live competition?
It's not 666 athletes.
Exactly.
Swear. Just
like the Earth is moving 66,600 miles per hour through space.
Yes, and it's 66.6 feet every 1,000 is the curve or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
they have one joke.
Their symbolism will be their downfall.
Yeah.
And
it's everywhere.
Ahead, look up the House Bill HR 666.
Yeah.
That's
Microsoft patent freaking 60606 freaking activity data cryptocurrency.
Luciferianase or whatever that shit
is. Luciferase, which is a hydrogel freaking activator for their little delivery system. They're
the most religious people on the planet. They're the most devout religious people on the planet.
A lot of people think that they just worship Satan, but a lot of it is that those are like the defected spin-off death cults. A lot of it is that these people actually think that their humanity, they are more pure, they are more worthy because they are capable of housing and they obtained these divine bodies of knowledge, and they are the ones who can make it work, and everybody else is uninitiated, and they call them the unbegun. And
that's why they call them Luciferians. They're not Satan worshipers. Lucifer was the angel of light. and he got all prideful and thought he was as good or better than God, and that's why he got kicked out of heaven, allegedly. So that's where that all came from. They think they're better. It's not that they're Satan worshipers, but it's a wholly different thing.
So if you research Rudolf Steiner, he was one of the ones
Rudolf Steiner.
Yeah, I could pull probably 6 or 7 books off my shelf from him. He was ahead of his time for sure, but he was part of the mystery schools. They openly wrote in their books, a time is coming for humanity where if they don't at least have access to this knowledge, it's going to be too late and they won't have a chance. It's part of that the end of the second Bach tune on the Mayan long count calendar, what was supposed to be the end of 2012, which there was a slight mistranslation of the years, and basically just this block of time that we're in right now is that transition, and we're like going through this cosmic gateway more or less. Even if like you type in space.com, they're like, yeah, we're flying through some cosmic dust or some shit right now. We don't really know what's going on with it. Steiner, they openly talked about, we're releasing this knowledge in hopes of, giving humanity, or certain aspects of humanity at least, the time to prepare for, what's coming. And he differentiates, Luciferians between Satanists, more so with the ideologies that Luciferian angelic rebellion forces, which is what they are, right? Yeah. They are still moral automatons. And so that's why they're jealous of humanity, because we have free will, right? We're in the image of the creator. So we're little co-creators, not in the spin-off new age, misinterpretation of that, but we literally are. We have the capability of creation. Steiner talked about
this idea of being able to see through walls, which is why he did glazing effects, which because I'm a painter, that was fascinating to me. The idea that he glazed walls so that you could literally see into the spirit world, and then you sit still and stare at the wall, kind of a thing. But all the kindergarten rooms are just about the most beautiful places you'd ever want to see. And we live out here in California, right by the Rudolf Steiner College, the one that's famous in the world for that. Nice. And there's a biodynamic garden there that is like shiny and vibrant. It is so beautiful. The cascade of waterfalls that drip into these, eternity pools, and everything is biodynamic. And you stir poop with your arm at midnight and stuff it all into the horn of an ox or something and bury it for you. All kinds of weird son of a cult shit that I was like, I don't know how comfortable I am. And also, I like a lot of it. I understand a lot of it, but it was just this side of like Nostradamus where I'm fascinated by it, but I couldn't really trust that they were leading me down a place that ended with my creator. That's what I was worried. One of those things to just like, I don't think everybody that follows Rudolf Steiner is a good person, like with good intent. I mean, I don't want to qualify good, bad person, but like, who is your God? That's what is hard to know about people. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, people like we've been talking about with these spin-off death cults, they misinterpret things very easily, like the Gnostics. The Gnostics, for example, the Coptic Egyptians and the Essenes. Yeah. The core concept of what the word gnosis means knowledge, but a more literal translation of that would be knowledge through direct experience. So these people were like transcendental meditation masters and people who could, basically phase their consciousness in and out of this plane. Like I said, there's all sorts of misinterpretations with the Gnostics. People just overtly call them, heretics, or because the straw man that was set up is to make all of Gnosticism look like the little misinterpretation cults that think Lucifer is God, because they found out about the phosphorus in our DNA being the light carrier, which is the Lucifer, right? So it goes pretty deep, but it's like we have a bunch of misinterpretations of misinterpretations that, it's this long winding road, and people don't even know.
Just like the telephone game. I mean, these things happened, eons ago, and we don't have the written, the proof or what was going on. It's just been carried on through people telling stories and then it changes along over time.
Yeah.
The more that I'm learning, the more that I am suspect or not a fan of or not buying into any organized religion.
Right.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the church. I came this close to being like a children's pastor in a Christian church, Pentecostal or, whatever type thing. And when I left that, I say all the time, I said, church would be great if it wasn't for the people.
Yep. It's true. It's been corrupted.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Man has corrupted the church.
Yeah.
Even, the missing books of the Bible. They don't want us to know the truth. Constantine,
exactly.
manipulated, all that stuff. That's some of the stuff that I did learn is it, gave me that insight to be able to look and dig a little further as to what the reaning behind all that stuff was. And the Bible has been corrupt. Organized religion.
66 books are left.
There's supposed to be, according to them, like 777 books. So where's the rest of them?
I think it's more like two or so hundred. But either way, you have 50 miles of Vatican catacombs with ancient scrolls and texts and shit that was supposed to be burned down in the Library of Alexandria, but they just kept it for the high priests and the
elites. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Along with whatever other treasures, literal treasures like ancient advanced technology. I hope one day it comes out with Hitler and what he was after. He was basically looking for the spear of destiny. Mm-hmm. He had direct occult advisors. Blue. So listen to this. There was a National Geographic episode about Hitler. This was years ago. It was called Hitler and the Mandrake Root. And it was basically about his path to power, but specifically as it related to the timing of when he took on an occult advisor. And so this advisor was actually a channeler, and her name was Maria Orsic, and she was connected to either the Thule or the Vril societies. And so I think it was either 1 month or 2 months after this person became a consultant, he came into power. And the technology aspect of it basically has to do with the ET presence, specifically their relationship with the military-industrial complex, which isn't just American.
Well, it's not American, maybe because the Nazis did it. The Nazis didn't lose the war. The Germans lost the war. All the Nazis came over here.
Yeah, right.
We think that our government or the people ruling us or whatever, that they're we're some have moral superiority. We're supposed, like Reagan said, some light or beacon on a hill. We're this glowing thing around the world. Man, there's so much corrupt and bullshit we don't even know. Most, I would say, probably 80+%, maybe 90% of our history is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not even true. It's been twisted and manipulated and relied to.
Just as calendar.
America has a very bad reputation, actually.
Oh yeah.
Do you think our calendar is accurate? Are we really in 2022?
If you go by the Gregorian, but there's some. If you look in I think it's the book of Daniel. It talks about the man of lawlessness and his dividing of time and half of time, and it has all these different iterations of time right after another. So I think anything the Bible is talking about has that first literalist interpretation layer, and then there are just once you initiate yourself with those divine illuminated bodies of knowledge, like the mysteries traditions, you kind of unlock those deeper layers.
Time is not linear. Yeah, time is not a straight line.
Yeah.
Future proves past. I went at it totally different because I've been an avid scriptorian since I got my first Bible when I was 8, because that's when they baptize you, when you're 8 in the Mormon church. I've been researching this stuff, and what I did was totally backwards because I assumed that the Bible was not not literal at all. And so I was looking for hidden messages and trying to understand how to apply these esoteric concepts to my young life. And today, now, I'm like, oh my God, it's so literal. It means like freaking literal.
Still putting it together.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I missed that whole first chunk.
Yeah. It's literally a codex, literally unlocking codes the whole time. It has to do with DNA activation. That whole, fringe.
This is boring. Like they're not paying attention at all.
It's real. If you look at a mandala, mandala was basically an ancient depiction of like an aerial view looking down a strand of DNA, almost like a tube. And so as you awaken or ascend, it kind of increases the spin. That's
the flower of life? Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, the mandalas. Okay. They're not all there's different patterns, but yeah, basically. Yeah,
I've heard people say that DNA is not really accurately drawn at all, that it truly is more like a tube than some twisted helix kind of a design.
Right. It's different based on the experience, not only in this lifetime, but it contains the epigenetic memories of all throughout history, which are not in the past or the future. It's all going on simultaneous. It's like a big fucking kaleidoscope,
oh, that's beautiful. I like that imagery.
Yeah, we're basically on this big it's like a cosmic data collection mission. I haven't really figured it out, but
it makes sense though. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I can see I resonate with that. Yeah.
Different perspectives. You are just me. If I was born that day and that year and named this and had these parents and went through this when I was 9 and fucking got bullied by this kid in high school and something happened when I was blah 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 blah. We would all just be the same if we were exposed to that exact stimuli. So when you break if you break all the stimuli down to that base, that's just spirit. That's God right there.
It's God, right? Yep. I've always said I'm a blue ray coming out of the same sun. It's like if God is the sunshine, I'm just this Jenny Ray, and Ron is the Ron Ray, but we're essentially the same thing, just having I'm God having this experience. Yeah. Wow. Can we do this every day? I'm starving for this, what I would call like adult, I need this.
I would love to do it, more often. We can get.
I don't know if you guys heard this. Did you hear about the whole theory of January 20th, 2022? All of a sudden, the military is going to activate because it's been 1 year of foreign occupation.
Right. So the Law of War Manual 11.3 stuff. Yeah.
So I've been combing through. I already had it pinned. I've read through it several times. I combed through that particular section in the DoD Law of War Manual 11.3, belligerent occupation, and maybe somebody who's more qualified to read through the language can clarify. But as far as I can see, there's nothing about like all of a sudden after a year these certain things will activate. At least that I can find. So that sounds like more. I haven't read it, but the way that I heard it presented was that after 1 year of the belligerent occupation, that is when they have the legal authority to be able to do something. That's not to say that they're going to do something, but that's the way it was presented to me. I haven't read and dug into that yet either. I just wait. I'm ready. Whatever happens, happens. I wish it would happen sooner than later. I'm ready. Well, I know the date when Trump is coming back. I can tell you that.
I said JFK, but or Trump.
Trump is coming back on February 21st. President's
is that right?
Day. Yeah.
Huh.
Why?
I think it's today. I think he's already back.
Yeah, right? I don't think he left.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's true. No, but that's the question that everybody wants to know. Everybody wants this intel, when is Trump coming back?
Yeah.
And I kind of a facetious type of thing I put out there. Yeah, February 21st is when he's coming back. It's President's Day, number one. Number two, it's confirmation he's coming back because we just celebrated last week on the 8th. We commemorated the 1 year removal from social media. You know, that's why everybody put on their getter and their stuff, all the oranges. You know, but the Orange Man bad.
That's what that meant. Okay.
Yeah. It was a commemoration. It was a commemoration of him getting kicked off of Twitter. So February 21st of this year is the announced date
Truth Social.
of Truth Social, yes. So Trump is coming back on the 21st with his social media platform. That's why I was being kind of facetious and kind of egging these people that want all this intel.
Is that really President's Day?
Yeah, February 21st, President's Day, yeah.
No shit, huh?
Yeah.
Dude, he's a master troll.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I personally believe he put that out there for his January 6th. He was supposed to have some big news conference. He put that out there. Yeah. He put that out there to trigger all these asshats in Washington. And then at the last second, he canceled. They had already made these plans and this and that and the other. January 6th was just a complete exposure of all of the bullshit that they're doing with that 6th committee and this and that, and all this stuff going on.
It's all coming down. They're pulling on the thread publicly now. First we had all of the optics from January 20th throughout most of the rest of the year. And then I kind of think when Afghanistan hit, that's when the exposés really started to ramp up. And then not too long after that, September 21st-ish, you get the first Durham drop, the first indictment. Something else. Oh, yeah, the couple CNN producers, fucking pedophiles. Maxwell, which is basically the crime of the century, didn't get the coverage. And now Prince Andrew is stripped of all his military roles and titles, and he's deleted all his social media. And Ghislaine, she's basically given up on her fight to keep those names redacted, the John Does.
But there was only going to be doing 8 of them. There was a shit ton of. I mean,
there was
in the trial there was only four victims that they brought forward. There was thousands of kids and victims that went to and through that island.
Either way you slice it, it's a slippery slope. Just to even have her name in the news.
She's still alive.
That might not even be her. I'm not trying to spread anything. Who knows?
There was Monkey did some breakdown. Monkey Works. He saw some flights going into Guantanamo that were kind of odd, and he also has some connections with people in prison and the codes for prisons. And the codes that were connected to certain names didn't match up with where they said they were supposed to be based on the codes, of the prison. So that, there's some funky stuff going on there. I don't know all the details, but it just made me think, there's other shit going on.
Well, that's another point. Go ahead, close Gitmo.
Yeah, I loved it when you said that. I'm like,
what's taking so long?
Out.
What's taking so long? It was so urgent for Obama's entire administration. Then Trump floods it with millions of dollars of resources. All of a sudden, again, you get the same old song and dance, Biden, Pelosi. Oh, my God, we got to close Gitmo. Fucking close it. What's the big deal? Why you got 39 detainees and there's a brand new courthouse and you're adding on to it?
$500 million worth of construction going on over there. Yeah, for 39 detainees, and there's most of them are never going to see any trial. They're just indefinitely detained forever until they die.
It is wheelchair accessible though.
Yeah,
that's an old Timberwolf joke. That's an old Nazi H.W. Bush.
Yeah, on that Real Raw News, stuff, and somebody was talking. George Bush has been executed. George, the junior, he's been executed. That came out. I saw recently as I was, looking at some of this Kirsten bullshit. I came across the story or headline. The tribunal's going on, and George W. Bush has been executed. But yet there's still, it's just Yeah, you can't trust any of that stuff.
No, I don't think Trump would have gone to that funeral.
HW's funeral?
Yeah.
Oh
No,
man.
I'm talking about Junior. Yeah.
So hold on. You don't think Trump would have gone to that funeral? Is that what you said?
No, because I think that there's so much proof out there of 9/11, and he lived in New York. Do you
mean HW or W?
I mean Senior. When Senior died,
he went to his funeral. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't think he was dead.
Oh, he was dead. Did you see the envelopes that were passed out?
Yeah.
Okay, he was dead for sure. Because
okay,
did you see Jeb Bush and
his reaction? He about shit his pants.
They were horrified.
Yeah, they were.
So what do you think was in the envelopes then?
A promise to counter. That's what Q said. So you have a shadow war, right?
All right.
Trump walks in late and interrupts the entire service. All the heads turn, right? Even there was even articles about his body language. People, the headlines were Trump's presence was like a lion around prey. Shit like this. Right. Secret Service passes out the envelopes. Everybody's horrified. Like what the hell is this? And he leaves early and interrupts the service again. I think it might be connected with Benghazi and SEAL Team 6 and Biden and Hillary thinking that all of those soldiers were dead. I think one or two of them probably survived. So if they knew that they were still alive, basically, it would be like an oh shit moment.
I have a military friend that I work with who says that.
Envelopes. I just think that was an aspect of the whole thing. But who knows? Who knows? But the body language of the whole event was predatorial.
Yeah.
Well, he's like that, though, man. He doesn't.
Yeah, power moves.
I think the way that he is late is different. I mean, it's usually people are late. It's just rude, right? Like you make people, but he's such a fucking boss. He just rubs it in their face. Like when he went to the Switzerland thing. When he
kind of like pushes that guy back and stuffs him in the front.
Yeah, or the wave with Macron. He basically drags him around like a little boy. You see where the clips they're holding hands and stuff. He's like petting him.
Walking in front of the queen
and stops. Runs into his back.
So when you say there's more to it, that's exact. He's not just a big dumb oaf that doesn't understand protocol. Those are power moves. He sat in Winston Churchill's chair and crossed his legs. And then walked in front of the queen and then addressed what's-his-face's royal guard like it was his own.
Yes.
Yeah. Did he like tickle the hand of the Pope or something? Yeah. He had this shit and grin on his face.
Yeah. Pope wasn't happy.
Saw that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Pope was not happy at all.
Oh no.
I heard somebody say that he said, "Hey, make sure you wear your pretty red shoes when we meet." And the Pope did. He had on his fucking red shoes.
Yep. Yeah.
It's going to be
best,
epic.
like super dick ever.
The beginning of the Q drops, that whole period, Q's building this net wall. So they say disinformation is necessary, right?
Yeah.
So that whole beginning period of the drops, people are concerned with, supposed date. Hillary's going to be arrested, this, that, and the other.
All the arrests and the dates.
Meanwhile, throughout this narrative that they build early on in the drops, it also makes it apparent that they're like going after elite families, right?
Yeah.
People just assume because her name was dropped that they're talking about Clintons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But almost immediately after that hits, I think there was 11 Saudi princes that were all taken out. Boom, 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 right? One of them was bin Talal, which was basically the guy who financed Obama's Ivy League education.
I thought I heard about that.
Okay. Obama as a fucking whatever you want to call it, Manchurian sex slave. Literally programmed him. He was a handler for him. So we had confirmation that early on, basically, that shit was booming. Because I had to do with the Las Vegas shooting, which was, by the way, you know, in front of a pyramid, big blood sacrifice.
Wow. I forgot about that. I didn't put that together.
Yeah, wow. That was connected with all of that, with the Saudi princess going down.
See, that's what I don't understand is people, my obvious go-to is that people have just not really seen Deep Evil, and for better or for worse, I have. So when people can't understand how deeply evil humans actually are, I'm confused. I'm happy for them. That's great. But I'm not the crazy one here. Now it's sort of being like, it's oh, thank you. We're gonna calm down now. With some cold red wine. Yummy! Because I've been working on a bottle of wine all week long because I suck at drinking.
Even those of us that are awake and the things that we're learning, and it just blows your mind. If we really truly understood how deep the depravity is and has been going on for a very long time, our heads would explode. I mean, it's just...
Well, that's what it is I didn't realize how well organized it was. I knew that the individuals were disgusting creeps because I met a lot of them, right? Sure. Some really sick freaks live in Utah and California. And those are like the two states I've lived in. And I've also lived in Switzerland. So there you go. I had no idea that Florida was a real place. It just looks like a CGI thing on my, on the pretty paradise calendars.
Hey, you never know.
I just bought 5 acres there, so
no, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. But another important aspect of it all is a lot of times these people interpret crimes against humanity just to be, that just means whoever's doing it is like the most prime evil that we can imagine. Well, it's not to say that they're not evil. It's also just to say that it's just fucking experimentation. They have to know. They have this obsessive compulsion with learning the secrets of genetics, the universe, blood, time, space, consciousness, reality. They've literally had projects where they strap people into some device and basically stretch their consciousness like a rubber band and sling it through time, which is what we think going through space in a vessel is. But it's actually, that's what we're for, is to go and slingshot into the universe, and that's what part of what our dreams are. And but we're in like this whole we're like in this whole like inverted situation with it all, where we just
how much like the Matrix is it really?
More than we probably know.
You have mainstream science that says we only really know what 4 or 5% of our DNA is and does. The other 95%, we'll call it junk DNA. And then they go out into the universe and they say, wow, we've done our calculations of how much physical material or material mass we know is there, and we're calculating it's there, but we can only actually see 4% of that. So I don't know. For some reason, we can only see 4% of the universe. It's because it's holographic. It's fucking layers of time.
Question about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I might not know it.
Into this, that's okay. We throw it out there because it's fun. We look up into the sky and we can see the year, the month, the day, and the hour, right? We live in God's clock, essentially, right? You've heard that. So how does that equate with what you're saying? How can we expand that to overlay what we understand as time, space, consciousness, and the 4%? How does that relate to what we think anyway, we can visually see with our eyes?
It's kind of incomprehensible, but that's literally what it is. They have basically told on themselves and said that they can only visibly detect as far as what they can see through the visible spectrum in this realm, that they can only see 4% of what they know is there, as far as the mass that they've calculated. Which is why when they look off, far off into different planets, they have to use all sorts of different types of spectrums of light, like infrared and so on. So they're actually, those are dimensions. Who knows how long it'll take for all that stuff to come out? But so this is part of my main mission. Is not even my mission, but the mission that we're all on. Kind of, we're pretty much in this like 3 or 4 phase by phase disclosure process, and it's being unraveled very slowly. And so you have the first block of that, which is political corruption, economic corruption. Then you have the darker stuff like, the trafficking rings and why they're doing it. And then, now it's going to be revealed that they're not just doing it because they're sick. They're occultists and they believe this. And, these same people were connected to this in the military industrial complex and they had these projects and, those projects discovered this about time, space, and reality. And, this is what life means, and this is what the universe is. And now we're at the end of that process where we've advanced 1,000 years in 10 years or 20 years or however long this thing takes. You know what I mean? But that's that cosmic gate we're kind of approaching. That
isn't that the process of moving from 3D to 4D to 5D? In our consciousness, that's the whole. That experiential or that exponential type of disclosure or understanding of what's happening. It's not really disclosure because the stuff has really been there the whole time. It's just our comprehension of what it is.
Right.
Why do we have this comparison of 5D and 5G happening all of a sudden where there wasn't any of that prior? Now all of a sudden I'm like, where's 5E and F at this point?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just like when we were all kids and something bad happened, you dialed 911 and then boom, 9/11 happened. They see that shit in your subconscious, and who knows? That may have been the birth date of the actual Christ, the Christos.
Easter on 4/11.
I think so. Yeah.
You weren't born yet, but Poppy probably remembers dialing 411.
Oh yeah, for information.
Get information.
Yeah.
Maybe it's November 4th. Be better if it was 2.
I'll be short texting somebody that some younger. Yeah, give me the 411 on what you're doing. They're like, what? The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I remember when a hashtag was a pound sign.
Right. Yeah.
And then so all of us old people when this hashtag Me Too shit, I'm all pound Me Too. How is this a great message for rape?
Exactly. No, but exactly. It's a mockery ritual.
Yeah.
These people don't even know.
Fucking asshole.
The ice bucket challenge, all of that stuff has deeper layers. And it's kind of like they live with Roddy Piper. He puts on the glasses.
Yes.
Looking around. Some people have souls, some don't. The advertisements are obey, consume.
They literally say obey. Look, people are wearing fucking shirts that say obey, and I'm like, how do you not know what you're wearing?
And when did that movie come out? It was in the late 80s or something?
Yeah.
Hold it up and go, that's the thing I want to wear.
Eyes Wide Shut. You guys ever see that?
No, on purpose I did not, because fuck that. No,
because you know. That's why. I forget who the director was, but he's a big time.
Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, yeah.
So Kubrick made Eyes Wide Shut, and it's basically about the occult brotherhoods. Yeah, right.
But have you watched any anime recently?
Not recent stuff. I'm like historically, as a kid growing up and whatnot, especially when I was in my phase with drawing and paper-based art. I was pretty huge on anime, but not the recent
I think there's
stuff.
a lot of disclosure in that. I sit and watch it with my kids sometimes, especially my 15-year-old, because it's one way to be with them, But I am always keeping my mouth shut totally, but overwhelmed with,
everywhere.
Oh my God, they are delivering just truth bomb after truth bomb that is fucked up and twisted. Last night I was watching it with Ian, and this guy is swallowing the fingers of a demon in order to harness his power, and then to be able to switch back. Like you can control the demon inside to fight the demon, and it's okay to do that because you can control the demon. And I was like, wow, that is true and fucked up.
Right. Yeah, because once you get on that path, it's...
yeah, you don't want to have demons inside you. Yeah, it does make you stronger, for sure. For sure. But you know what's scared of it? You know what demons are scared of? Jesus Christ. Why would they? Why are they so scared of Jesus if he's not real?
It's not even just that he's real. It's the force in it's a cosmic force. If you follow the lamas, the lamastery, we're basically talking about master monks that live in the Himalayas, but they basically describe it as three main forces in the cosmos. One would be the creative force, one the sustainability, and then one the destructive force. Christ is actually the destructive. And yes, because why? He is the destroyer of death.
Oh, wow.
He's the only one who's officially done it, right? And other people, other sages and mystics and Krishna and all these other incarnations of what they call ascended masters, which some people believe are demonic, but these are just, again, people who were illuminated and just they attained things and accomplished things spiritually. And I mean that in a literal sense, initiatory rites in the astral plane that you carry out. People would think that's like some lucid dream, but no, it's just, it's a different dimension. But none of those people were in the same league as, Yahweh HaMashiach, which people call Jesus Christ. But he was the greatest. That's why I break down his resurrection as a cosmic event. It was an accomplishment with his light body that hadn't been done to that level before. It's like somebody breaking
your class, Derek.
It's just a bunch of obsessive reading, I guess. I don't know.
I'm blown away. I mean, you're at your age and the shit that and it blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
I've wasted my whole freaking life living, and here you are, schooling me.
It was 9/11,
I'm with you, Poppy.
which I lived through, but I didn't really kind of get it until I was like, I started looking into it at about 14. Ron may even remember. Ron, you and I watched Jesse Ventura's show. It was called Conspiracy Theory, and it got canceled. It was like 2006 or something. He went underground to the deep underground bases under Denver Airport, looked at all the Masonic statues and murals, the soldier with the gas mask and the AR-15 with the dove of freedom at the end with the city burning in the background, and there's moats in front of him, and children and fucking women are burning in the moats and shit. It's that Denver International. Mm-hmm. So Jesse Ventura's show got canceled after all this because he started looking into that. He was looking into the actual hijackers, the people who supposedly hijacked those planes at 9/11, and the evidence that was left conveniently to incriminate them, but meanwhile the rest of the planes fucking vaporized. And
he also talked about the FEMA camps. He talked about HARP.
Everything going on right now. Everything.
Yeah. Whatever happened? What's he doing now? Is he even still alive? I don't even know.
All those more mainstream networks of conspiracy or conspiratorial subjects. Mm-hmm. So he's I think he's off doing his thing, but sometimes he'll speak about crazy shit, basically. But
I'm sitting here watching. I got the email on my blood results from the TSH. My TSH is 4.59.
Congrats.
Which is higher. And I've been on the medication for 8 months.
What did you say?
4.59 is what the number is currently.
So are you looking at your diet for that too? Because there's a lot of people good writing out there about, I'm a bigger believer in the blood type stuff, but in terms of Hashimoto's disease, I know that they have a lot of luck with keto. stuff like that. I just wondered if you're looking into that as well. Not don't take your meds.
Stuff. Yeah, I haven't done too much on the diet side.
Yeah.
But
Bruce, once you take that step, all this stuff spiritually, you're gonna take off like a rocket ship.
I know.
Yeah. Because you're clearing not just your physical body, but once you take care of that, it starts to do work in your energy bodies.
And I'm feeling drawn. I'm feeling drawn to that area, to that realm, to do that. And it's just a matter of making a decision, and the first month or whatever is going to suck, until I develop the new habits and find the new stuff that will tweak me, so to speak. So that's going to be the next step, because I was also hoping that this test too, because all my cardiac stuff, I've been on statins forever. I'm in 80 milligram statin once a day for a long damn time. And I felt I was over medicated. I was feeling horrible, stomach problems, still, dizziness, this and that and the other. And so get off of meds. That's what I'm trying to do. I've been halving my meds. I mean, I felt like I was going to die. Just because the meds that I was on, I was dizzy all the time. I'd never had high blood pressure, but all the different meds that they got me on, I traveled with a freaking pharmacy. All the different meds had a lowering effect on my blood pressure. I was over medicated, because I've had also results from echocardiogram that my heart is actually getting stronger. My ejection fraction is increasing.
That's great.
So yeah.
That's hard to do, actually.
It's a work in progress.
Did you ever see anything from Thomas Cowan, the doctor? He's written a book called. Okay, so he's the big Rudolf Steiner guy. Do you know that?
Oh, I didn't know. No.
He was at the Rudolf Steiner College in Fair Oaks, and he was my doctor, and he saw Adam and I. Adam has cardiomyopathy, genetic cardiomyopathy, which we thought he had expression, but he doesn't. As of today, he got a new cardiologist, and there's no injection fraction problems. So we're excited. But you might, Poppy, be interested in some of the work of Thomas Cowan.
So,
he's written beautiful books about the heart is not a pump.
COWAN?
Yeah. So he's basically, he woke me up to, I think he referenced a book called The Invisible Rainbow. I don't know if it was his book or not, but The Invisible Rainbow. Think he wrote that.
No, he didn't. Written a lot of books though.
Yeah, so The Invisible Rainbow, and basically his breakdowns of electromagnetic fields, 5G, how it affects, how porous our cells are, and basically 5G increases the porosity of our cell, decreases our immunity, therefore. Basically breaks down the timeline of these different technologies that showed up throughout the 1900s. Well, you get into Louis Pasteur and the germ theory, and that kind of starts to break down on its face too after.
Right.
A certain genetic profile has a higher propensity for having that type of symptom because of the genetic makeup of the virus. Talking about targeting genetic makeups kind of brings like a full circle back around. We were talking about, how the Nazis and this coming here to America and all that stuff. I did some research when I was digging into this virus origin stuff, came across some stuff about Unit 731 and Unit 100, Unit 731.
Those were compounds, right?
It was a place in Japan. Yeah, it was like a bioweapon, extremely crazy experiments on human beings that they were trying to develop something to target certain genetic people, that they were running these experiments on Mongolians, Russians, all these different types of these different genetic makeups, all these different experiments. And if you read about some of the experiments, they are horrific. I mean, talking about operating on people that while they're still alive and not under anesthesia. I mean, all just. But here's the thing. We talked about the Nazis. The Nazis came to America. And that's how we got NASA and different things.
Intelligence agencies. Yep.
Yeah.
So you at the end of World War I, they instead of prosecuting all these Japanese people for their experiments, the crimes against humanity are horrific. Instead of prosecuting them like in a Nuremberg type of setting, they decided to. No, well, they recruited them. They let them. They said they weren't going to prosecute them if they turned over all of their research to the United States.
Yep.
So I mean,
that's why Eisenhower, his famous speech of, we have to be wary of
complex.
Exactly, and only a knowledgeable and alert citizenry can avoid disaster, basically. And so that was Eisenhower. Think about if you're president and ET presence is disclosed, but not just that, but also more specifically the black projects. He had already knew about flying saucers and aliens, but he was worried when he heard about what was going on in the secret projects. And it's not what people think. It's very, very deep, and it's gone so far as to literally affecting time and space.
The whole alien experience thing, just think about the technology advancements that's happened since that time period. Right. Yeah. The late 40s, thing, the whole, what was it, 47 was Roswell or something like that? Is that the year? I don't remember. Late 40s when all that happened, and, the Nazis coming over here, and, the advancement of our technology has been crazy exponential.
Yeah.
Insane. Just not normal evolution of our progression of our learning shit.
Definitely not.
We were downloaded with a bunch of stuff.
Meanwhile, the gas combustion engine hasn't moved in 100 years, but all this other stuff has blasted.
We're still driving cars on roads.
So that tells you what, though?
It's money.
It tells you money, control, freedom, liberation. Because if we had free energy that would power vehicles like that, we wouldn't need their control. Shit. But anyway, but behind the scenes in Roswell, they thought that they were shooting down Nazi ships, because that's what Operation High Jump was about at the end of World War II, at the end of the Third Reich. Nazis at the very end were kind of losing the battle physically, as far as they were getting out-tanked, outmanned, certain things like that. Well, it's because they were accumulating advanced technology. They weren't worried about getting more tanks, and, they were basically housing their technological research compounds in Antarctica. And so Operation High Jump was like 13,000 men followed Admiral Byrd down to Antarctica, and they ran into some stuff that the Nazis had and were developing. And so in 47...
the flat earthers believe they're out there in Antarctica, that ice wall, whole situation. There is something.
Balloon.
There is something about that, but I don't think it's what the flat earthers believe. But so in 47, they thought they were shooting down a German craft, and it wasn't. And that's where Area 51 was born, basically, and Groom Lake and the Tonopah facility, which it's not just Area 51 is like one base. It's basically like a mega base, a mega compound that includes different mini bases within it that all have different compartmentalized levels of research. God knows how deep into the actual Earth it goes. This goes back to Eisenhower. Eisenhower himself didn't know what was going on there before all this was disclosed. He threatened to have the First Army out of Colorado basically fucking show up on their doorstep and say, "Let me in. I'm going to find out what's going on." They were like, "Okay." That's when they told him. But all of that was passed on to JFK. That's why he was making moves. That's why he fucking had balls and had to be taken out, because he was gonna overstep some things.
Well, yeah, he not only was doing stuff, he was saying stuff. That was the problem.
Yeah, we're opposed by a monolithic conspiracy, and we're historically and opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, and secret proceedings.
Right.
That whole speech is legendary. It's probably the greatest speech I've ever heard. honestly.
Absolutely.
I think I've seen an article about that too.
It was 61, I think, if I remember.
Yeah, I want to say April something, 1960. President and the Press is what the title of the speech is called. And he's talking about disclosing pertinent information to the public. And again, he highlights the threats of the military-industrial complex. And he was taking...
That speech is the I'm going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces speech, right?
I don't know if he said it in that one or a little bit later on, but it was in the same, at the very least, that was the same time period. Yeah. And then not too long after that, you get Nixon and Watergate. Nixon was in the know on the UFO file. So. Nixon was writing letters to Trump in the 1980s. Donald Trump.
What?
And basically he was mentoring Donald Trump in the 1980s. So Nixon's wife, at least at one point or another, interjected in these letters and basically told Donald, hey, I had a premonition. If you run for president, you would win. Nixon's wife said this, I think it was like mid-'80s. So this whole thing, so why I think Trump is so slick, he knows all their fucking moves, right? It's because he's been groomed for this for a long time. It's kind of like being an Illuminati baby, but you flip on them. JFK, the Kennedy is a royal bloodline. You know what I mean? Kennedys are up there. They're high class. So, it goes pretty deep. But, you know.
I've heard that. And then also he was friends with JFK Jr. Like they were going to baseball games together.
Yeah, they were close. Yeah.
Common knowledge. Yep. And he was friends with
Diana.
He was friends with a guy whose dad's most famous and infamous quote, like you said, Bruce, I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And then he creates the DIA basically as an opposition to that. So instead of the CIA, which is run by a bunch of bumbling bureaucrat clowns, the DIA is run by a fucking bunch of battle-hardened criminals. Or not criminals,
warrior soldiers, yeah.
Battle-hardened friggin' warriors.
I've never heard of DIA.
So it's
Defense
the Intelligence Agency.
Yeah.
It was created by JFK because he was at war with the CIA.
Oh my God.
He was openly at war with the CIA and the FBI, which is why both of those organizations were the very same who conducted the investigation into his death, which was a huge conflict of interest. They came out with the Warren Commission. That's where the term conspiracy theorist was born, so that they could dissuade anybody into looking into how they basically hired a bunch of like mafia hitmen and fucking assassinated the president in broad daylight.
They did.
Yeah, right in front of everybody.
And all of that ties forward through history to Trump creating the Space Force and why it's taking so long to get the JFK file. We're 60 years after the fact, we still don't have it. And it's because even Trump himself, there was I'm not sure what the man's name was. He was an official basically with, I think it was the DOD or the Pentagon. This was around the time in late 2017 after he had taken office, right around the Q drops, right? On October 28th. All the hoopla in the mainstream, all the hype was Trump was going to release the JFK files. This was the first iteration of that. Right. And it came out, nothing happened. And there was like, a couple things we didn't know, but there's really nothing here, right? It was still heavily redacted.
And then it was memory hold again.
Yeah. So this official came out after the fact, and he said, I talked to Trump before that happened. I said, Mr. President, I got a moment with him. Mr. President, you're going to release the JFK documents, right? And he basically said no. And the guy is, he's like, what? I thought, all the news and everything, all the hype is that you're going to release it. And he said, whatever the gentleman's name was, if you saw what was in it, you wouldn't release them either. Yeah. It was cold.
So he's got him.
He fucking knows everything. He knows all of that. But I think and obviously I could be wrong, but I think the implication with that is the way that would fracture the psyche of society, the fabric of society, if you all at once being the key concept here. because we are getting them. It's just a kind of a slow drip, just like this whole phase by phase process. Everything is a slow drip. Like, a lot of us have known about the trafficking and crimes against humanity for years and years and years and years. And just now we're getting to this point. So all this other stuff we know about, we'll get there too, but it's like a trickle charge. So I think the same thing is happening with the JFK documents, which brings me to one of my main points is that was the whole point of the Q drops, not for some secret super duper white hat military fucking super soldier team swooping in, saving the day, but to invigorate certain demographics of the public to say, okay, we're going to take back the concept of news, right? And what information is. We're going to take back our right to this information, and we're going to demand that you release those files. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. And Q hasn't been posting for over a year at this point because that role was already done, but we're still not picking up the Q, no pun intended.
Right.
Yeah, we're still
the CUEQ.
Yeah. So we're in this situation where it's like we had this vehicle that was built for us, right? But nobody's really. We're like in the back on the turret, right? And we're like in the passenger seat with a sidearm, like if anybody played Halo back in the day. But nobody's fucking driving the car. Like we're sitting here, you know what I mean, firing red pills, but nobody's driving the car.
Right, no, makes sense.
So,
I resonate with that.
Yeah, and granted, you have influencers taking the initiative to go out, but has any one of those people ever said, "Hey, my main point tonight up on this stage, release the JFK documents"?
Nobody's listening to that. I mean, and the more that I get into
there it is.
There you go. You're the guy.
Go talk to Patel Patriot. He won't be afraid.
Other than Steinbart, he's also the progenitor of that. But it's true. I mean, that's maybe not the smoking gun, but once you start pulling on that thread publicly, the whole game ends. Epstein, the UFO file, and JFK. Those are three areas that if we pull on any one of those threads anymore, especially the Epstein one, but it's all going to lead to the same little strand, and then we get boom, 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 boom. It go, Obamagate, Crossfire Hurricane, Seth Rich, Benghazi, fucking Bin Laden, 9/11.
Yeah.
It's all going to trace back. We're going to get this thread pulling through what we think is history all the way back, and we're going to unravel it all the way back to World War II and, these robber baron families who are basically financing the concentration camps and literally profiting off of the camps. And we're going to go deeper in the more exotic information where it's like, hey, Hitler wasn't just running their place. He was trying to get fucking technology on the side with this race of whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
They're demons? Are aliens demons?
Some of them, sure, yeah. Which demons are just like discarnate entities from like a subdimension,
Right.
And they built supercomputers to interface with that.
I mean, Bruce said when he was in the Air Force way back in the day, that's when they caught Saddam. He said that whole thing of them finding him in a spider hole was completely staged. This is before any red pilling, waking up. This is, way back when. Bruce was in the Air Force. He was in Germany.
I remember.
He said that there was that them finding Saddam Hussein hiding in that hole was a completely staged. This completely staged thing that never happened.
Nope.
That never happened.
And that's why they had to kill the SEAL Team 6 that was present in that compound and clearly saw this ain't fucking Bin Laden. So Biden and Hillary did their little operation, and SEAL Team 6 supposedly went down. But,
I mean, even if he was, the whole. Now that you look back on it, the whole burial at sea thing is complete bullshit.
Bin Laden
with his religion and him being Muslim like he was. the whole burial at sea thing, that would never happen.
Never.
Yeah. No, Jr. too.
Yeah.
They're Catholic. They didn't get. They got cremated within 24 hours. What the fuck?
Think of it like this: Bin Laden's death was basically a PR campaign for Obama's second term.
Yeah. I believe you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fucking shit show.
I mean, that's pretty much that simple. Pretty much. I heard
somebody say that Nixon was on to Pizzagate way back. I'm not a crook.
No, and were they trying to say that was why Watergate happened?
Yeah.
It wasn't Pizzagate.
Watergate was really Pizzagate.
It wasn't the pizza. No, it was the treaties with negative ETs and trading fucking humans for technology.
Ew.
That's the truth. That's where this is That's where this shit is going. The election, everything about Trump, all this crazy. That's where this stuff is going. Is that kind of truth, like fucking what's really going on, and then why that's happening? Why do they want us? What is so special about humans? And then we'll unravel genetics and universe and all that stuff. But yeah, that's where this is going pretty much. It's gonna get fucked up, unfortunately. But
it's gonna get real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I agree, yeah. I'm ready too.
It's not, but I'm ready. I want truth to be known.
Which is why they're trying to get ahead of it. That's why they're running their UFO op, because they know this is not going to stay secret for forever. You know what I mean? So they're trying to get ahead of it.
They're trying to point us to make us look in a different direction of this potential UFO thing over here, and not really understand that they've been sleeping together for the last 50 plus years, 70 years almost.
Fuckers.
Yeah. So if they are in control of how disclosure happens, then they have all of the leverage.
They basically. being the ETs?
The military-industrial complex that has the back doors, which, Bruce, you said you watched Shadowgate. They have back doors into the media establishments, and that's how they feed their narratives. It's straight from intelligence.
And all of these different, that Shadowgate was mind-blowing. I mean, I understood that type of stuff was going on, but when they break it down like that and they actually list the names of the people, the companies, the Atlantic Council, all these guys, ex-general military intelligence people, starting up their own little companies and going, and they're having all these little fights and fightoms and
infighting, This algorithm and software wasn't actually created for Americans. It was for something in the Middle East, and now it's being weaponized against Americans. Like, here we go.
It is blows my mind. Yeah, the Atlantic. One of the things the Atlantic Council, General Jim Jones was big in that.
Did you catch one of those offices was in Tampa?
No, I didn't notice that part. I probably should watch it again. I was amazed. I was just blown away just at the whole entire concept of what was going on with the shadow net. Most social media is all completely socially engineered. They make people do things that
it ties
just
in
by
with
watching shit on social media. It's crazy.
It ties in with the whole Q operation, which is basically just a front for particular type of intelligence group that Trump, I don't think you can say he organized it, but this self-organizing collective, if you will.
Well, Trump was recruited into it by these people, right?
Right. And they have been working on a new form of the internet. The internet we have now was given to the public by the military. So if people don't think that they have something more advanced,
they got shit. Yeah, the disclosure from the military is like 30 years behind it, from what I've heard or read or somewhere.
So here, real quick, I got a video from 2019. Real quick, it's general, or maybe not general. Here we are. Here, I'm going to see if I can share.
All this kerfluffle about Flynn being a gray hat, white hat, or gray hat, black hat, or deep state, I just don't buy into.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, General Flynn.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Who knows? So check this video out. This is 2019.
General Valley, I have a question for you from our chat room on the American Rock Radio fan page. Do you know who the individual calling himself or themselves, if it's an organizational effort, Q? What do you know about that? Was that part of the PSYOP? What are you at liberty to say? Or is it a bunch of bunk?
Well, let me just tell you that QAnon is tied to information. And it comes out of a group called the Army of Northern Virginia. Okay?
Yep.
Now, this is a group of military intelligence specialists of over 800 people that advise the president.
And so,
the president doesn't have a lot of confidence in the CIA or even the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, as much anymore. So he relies on these real operators. Most of them are special operations type of people.
Boom.
And so this is where Q picks up and gets some of their information, as I understand. I know what they're looking at now, these alternate technologies of actually creating a separate internet. Okay?
Yep.
And this internet can't be compromised. It's so high tech. Of course, that's up to conjecture. But there's some technologies in clouding and all of the stuff that they're working on, and the Chinese have been working on it as well. But they're really looking alternatives to communicate worldwide with an alternative, or I gotta say, an alternative to our internet as we know it today. And so,
all right. So, a couple things I want to point out. Trying to figure out how to get this. Here we go. There we go. So note how he specified the real operators are basically special operations forces, right? That Trump relies on for real-time information because he doesn't trust the intelligence apparatus. Was basic, and this group is also part of developing new aspects of the new internet, right? The evolution of the internet. So what I picked up when he said special forces, I had all sorts of like booms going off because in between November 3rd, 2020, January 20th, 2021, that however many days, 70 to 90 days, I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. There was mainstream news coverage about how odd some of the moves that Trump, as an outgoing president, was making, specifically as it relates to Chris Miller, who was the new acting Secretary of Defense. He was literally a soldier in Iraq, specialized in irregular warfare, guerrilla warfare. Yeah, straight badass, right? Ezra Cohen-Watnick being promoted to the head of the Public Declassification Board, among other things. So these two, along with Pence, had a role in this, which Patel Patriot covers in his Devolution series. Pence, Trump, obviously, Chris Miller, Ezra Cohen-Watnick, these people all had a role in activating something called JFK Action Memorandum number 57. And this is something that JFK wrote, but never got the ability, or never had the ability to actually activate because of obvious reasons. What this does, the principality of this memorandum, when it's activated by a president, it shifts the CIA being able to control what happens with special operations, and it gives control back to the Pentagon, which is by default the commander-in-chief. And so during that 70, 80, 90-day period in between the election and the inauguration, you have people like John Brennan live on CNN. If you read his body language, he's like clearly shitting his pants, right? But the rhetoric that's coming out of his mouth is, oh my God, we don't know what he's going to do. He's very dangerous. He might take military action.
It was right about that time they started talking about the 25th Amendment, and they were thinking we were talking about Trump.
Yeah, and then Pelosi's trying to take the football. Yeah, exactly. That's because he was making those moves. So not only that, but you had, I think it was more than just one publication, but it was like Daily Mail, The Sun, UK, or a few of them. Basically, they came out some point in 2021 and said, hey, by the way, the Pentagon has an army of 60,000 troops that are special forces that operate all over the globe, and it's not generally briefed. Like it's actual special forces black projects. So if you connect where all of this is going, you have a retired major general or major sergeant, I'm not sure what the terminology structure is, but openly talking about in 2019, mind you, how Q is tied to real operators that are part of special forces, making a new internet, right? You have Trump making moves specifically as they relate to special forces and shifting where they and who they answer to.
Right, command and control, yeah.
Mainstream confirmation that, hey, by the way, there's a fucking huge army of special forces troops all over the world operating in real time that don't necessarily brief the administration. And so you have all of this stuff that is talked about, you know, people, they don't typically go that deep into it, but, you know, the alliance, the white hat, that's really what they mean. They're not specific enough. And then what it does is it creates these straw man arguments that are really easy to like, oh yeah, I'm sure there's a white hat alliance, right? But if people just aren't aware of those facts, if you bring them through the different nodules of it, it's all right there. But
the White Hat Alliance, I mean, according to Kirsten, always said it all the time. Her intel drops, you know, the queen of intel. She said multiple times that the White Hat Alliance is Trump, Putin, Xi, Moody, and the guy from, I can't remember his name, the prime minister or whatever of Iran. They're all working in connection to
Ben Salman.
Yeah.
Which is who, remember I talked about the Saudi princes?
Yeah.
Okay, so one that was Al-Walid bin Talal, he financed fucking Obama's Ivy League education, programmed him and everything. The guy who took over for him is Ben Salman, who was pivotal in those Middle East peace treaties, that Trump accomplished before he left. So there was players that were, like I said, they placed landmarks and all sorts of like little traps and shit, and then say, yeah, you can have it, and then let basically, like, we all know China's propaganda is out of this world. Anything we on the ground in America are seeing coming out of China, if you really know what's going on, you have to always like, nah, it's probably not, you know, it's just a big show that's projected outwards so that they can, super complex. But so this isn't confirmed anywhere, but my intuition the whole time has been that the Biden administration, the reason people say it feels like a big show and wake up operation and this, that, and the other, I believe it has to do with the devolutionary aspect of continuity of government and how you basically have this unprecedented situation of the presidency split down the middle. One aspect controls the legislative / cash flow, et cetera, et cetera.
One administrative side, and the other is the commander-in-chief.
Right. And then you have the combatant commanders. I think there's 11 of them. They all basically answer the commander-in-chief. And so I believe that this whole administration, again, that people in the conspiracy or truth movement just have this feeling. They're just like, it seems fucking fake. This dude's getting shot up with, vaccines on a stage openly, and none of the reporters are like asking, hey, why aren't we at the White House? We're like in literally some staged room. So this intuition, I think, comes from the reality that the Biden regime is propaganda being projected back to the Chinese. Not the Chinese, the CCP.
Right. The Chinese people are innocent, right?
It's basically an echo chamber back to the CCP to give them almost like a confirmation bias that, okay, we're in control. We have foreign belligerent occupation. We can move forward with certain things. Oh, shit. Big sting operation, basically. So,
okay.
Yeah, this is basically...
We'll know, will it be tip of hand, let's just say with current events going on this split, deal, would it tip the hand of what's going on if Biden sends troops to Ukraine?
Oh, I don't know. That's good. I think that could set some things off. Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, because everybody was talking today.
By treaty. Yeah.
What's that, Ron?
So we're bound to protect the Ukraine by treaty, but we don't.
What?
Through NATO or an independent treaty between us and them?
No, independent treaty. United States is bound to protect their bound to protect their nuclear forces. Number one, and the country as a whole. I can't remember what the name of the treaty is, but that is still supposedly in place and intact. Yeah,
I'd imagine it's something one of the Bushes put in. If I had to
guess.
Not sure.
I think it's been in longer than that, Derek.
Word has it that there's, in the Middle East in general, there's all sorts of ancient technology and more specific to modern time current events. Rumor has it from some credible people that Hillary's, I don't know if it was the servers or the hard drive, or basically the original location of her emails was somewhere in the Ukraine. So
I told you that yesterday. And I even said that on my show today, that the Ukraine is like a hotbed, or it's like all the hiding places for the deep state. All of their fucking secrets are in Ukraine. They use that as a off-site type of command center or operational deal, because we know Romney, John Kerry, Pelosi, Hunter, all those kids from all these fucktards have jobs and are laundering money out of there. We know that the current government that's in Ukraine was installed by Obama, and they're corrupt as hell. And
just like how Obama's administration was super buddy with the lady from Myanmar, which got taken over by the military.
She was taken down. Right.
And George Soros's freaking bank accounts were seized.
He's a Nazi, but he's got huge connections there as well. So everybody wants us to believe that Putin is this devil demon that's what we've been taught through our whole lives. Russia is bad. Yeah. We've found out, now we know the media is full of shit. The politicians are full of shit, and they've been pumping us full of this Russia bad, Orange man bad. Yeah. And he's, he may be an asshole, KGB murderer, not that great, but I think he's in a way kind of the Trump of Russia. There are people since the USSR broke up. There has been reports or things that I've read that the civilian populations of these countries, Kazakhstan, number one, that's just blowing it up because the government was so corrupt, is that the populations want to rejoin, back with Mother Russia. Right. And so because all these governments, these oligarchs, they're so corrupt and they treat the people like shit.
Holy shit, Bruce. How many Q posts were about Red October? This is just coming to me right now. Holy shit. Wow. Dude, and what was that movie about?
Yeah, Russian,
and secret Arctic military nuclear bases run by the Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. I'm just getting this download. It's like a hair standard.
That's good, Derek.
Wow.
That's good.
So do you think that this is sort of one of those kind of Red October kinds of things where or Red Herring even, where you appear weak when you're strong?
Trump,
so that's why I called it. We have Biden?
That's why I called it Trump Zoo. Yes. It's a Sun Tzu Art of War.
Yeah, that's
there's
what I was
no other way around this. That's the only way you can do this legally without being a warmonger fucking Nazi fascist.
So he's the only way. Have to know he's not in charge of it. Do you think that Biden is a real person, or is he an actor, literally?
I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I don't think it's him.
How could anybody be this bad?
So here's my thing. Here's my thing. That's not even necessarily to say, oh yeah, all of these people are arrested and or executed, and anyone we see,
it's a clone, it's a CGI, it's a hologram.
Right.
However, I know that those things are within the capability of the military-industrial complex. So certain people that would need to have those roles played out in this fucking story, basically, it's well within the possibility that we have some Manchurian-programmed fucking robot president. Who knows at this point? Who knows? But let me ask everybody else out there, do you have any readings of life when you look at the guy? There's nothing there.
No.
There's nothing. It looks deranged. It's like a creature.
Right. Well, it does. It does look like a creature. And I even mentioned, it's funny, man, we're talking about this. It's confirming shit that's been going on. Just yesterday or today on my show, I was talking about that. And because I was railing against all the people coming out and all the bullshit that's coming out about Kirsten. And I was looking into some of these channels, and I can't believe that people are buying into and believing this stuff. And it was coming out again. I was like, do I believe, and I was talking about opening your consciousness. Yeah. Do I believe we can clone people? Yeah. Do I believe that, all these clones is what we're seeing?
No.
Probably not.
Probably
but not. Can we clone? Yes. Is everybody we see a clone? No.
Stop with Dolly. Exactly. Shut up.
Here's the thing too, though, to play devil's advocate, right? To play devil's advocate in support of the theory that all of them are clones or whatever, right? Let's kick a scenario really quick about that. Let's say again, we've already defined who it is, but just to put the nice, cute euphemism everybody likes, the white hats, right? Let's say you're the white hats and you already have arrested and executed these people, and the tribunals are real, and all of these sealed. There are hundreds of thousands of sealed indictments on pacer.gov. The only way you get a sealed indictment is a secret grand jury. Those are fucking facts, right? So let's say you're the white hats. You already have done these things.
But like 200,000 or 300,000 of those things, yeah.
I think it's even up to like 500 or 600 now. But
really, wow.
But the key to all this is, let's say you have done those things as the white hats. If those people and those players, deep state players, are immediately replaced, right, by variable, put whatever, clone, double, whatever you want to put, right? CGI, a lot of it's CGI probably. Specifically as it relates to clones, though, if these people, if a Hillary, for example, is arrested and executed and hung or whatever, and she's immediately replaced by a clone, what kind of position does that put you in publicly with being part of the alliance that are taking these people out? If you were to come out and announce, "Hey, we did it, guys. America's saved. Here's the tape. We killed Hillary. All of the text. Here's her confession video. Blah 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 blah." All these things people are wanting. EBS. All of the theories, right? You come out and announce it, and the next day she's on TV.
Yep.
Contrary to what you just said, and then guess what? A lot of people at that point who don't fall for the propaganda are going to go, "Holy fuck, clones are real." What that would do to society, the reason that the white hats, again, quote unquote, don't or can't disclose something like that is because if you're a red-blooded American and you have built up the amount of hatred and vitriol in a misplaced manner too, because to some extent, even these fucked up deep state players, on some spiritual level, we're going to have to forgive and not forgive, but you know what I mean? It can't be all vitriol and vengeance, right? It's not healthy. That's not how you heal this. No. But what that would do to those people who aren't there spiritually, they would go, "I'm going to fucking murder these people. They're not even humans." We would have it would be complete, it would be a literal sci-fi horror movie. It'd
be like The Purge for the clones.
Dude, it would be so unstable and it would be not good at all. And that's not what we want. Just like we don't want civil war, which is ironically what people say the Q drops were to cause when it was explicitly stated that we can't have. So, yeah, we have to do. It's very delicate, this whole thing. So,
I think Trump is a very patient man. Ironically.
Yeah, you'd have to be. You'd have to be.
Well, I mean, because of the Art of War and his book, The Art of the Deal. I mean,
exactly.
he gives people too many chances for them to do the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, he could have come down and squashed all this stuff on November 4th, the day after the election, because they knew everything was going on. That's why, if you think about what we talked about before, what happened between November 3rd and the 20th, or even January 6th, say, all the fumbling and bumbling, these supposed people who, had all this intelligence and legal expert of the whole Patrick Byrne, General Flynn, Sidney Powell fiasco, that they were trying to prove all this stuff. And when you really look at it, it was completely inept. Rudy Giuliani, all the stuff they did, it was almost designed to fail because we had to go through this process of letting them expose themselves.
Yeah. I've said it since the day it happened. I think it was December 14th, 2020, when this was all supposed to be presented to the Supreme Court.
Right.
A month or two passed, and people were like, yeah. They didn't even know that the Supreme Court never heard the evidence or saw anything presented. It was all tossed on like filing technicalities. A lot of it wasn't even Trump's people. It was just like fucking general Republican stuff that was filed. And it was called in the mainstream Trump's failed lawsuits against the election.
We lost they think that we lost in the courts. That's what they keep saying all the time. All these courts have looked at this and the election's legit.
So my theory in the Trump Zooverse, right, is that what does it solve if the evidence is heard on that date and they're like, fuck, yeah, this did happen. Flip, everything's overturned. Trump's the president. It doesn't solve any of it. Think about how much we've learned since then, since January 20th, Afghanistan. All of this stuff has stacked up since then. And
you can't tell people the truth. You got to show them.
Yep. It had to be this way.
Absolutely. But you asked, by the way, there is a shit ton of Q posts with Red October in it.
I know.
And they're probably not all talking about the movie, Red October, for, actual October and the stuff that happens before elections. But I mean, God bless America. Where does it sit? It says 27 posts found containing 27 different posts found containing Red October.
So think about that movie, and then also think about, you remember the 80, I think it was 1984, the movie Tron, the original Tron.
Yeah.
Okay. About a fucking supercomputer that gains leverage over the nuclear launch codes and is blackmailing politicians. Yeah. Does that sound sounds pretty clear, doesn't it? So there's Q posts about Tron too, and there's all sorts of cons about the procedures, the nuclear launch code procedures. So this whole thing is like a Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis fucking mashup, weird thing that's going to end up unraveling all of reality. Basically, it's this whole thing's being used as a catalyst for something way bigger than people even realize right now. They think, oh yeah, we get Trump back and we're good, and it's like, no, we get Trump back and we got to learn some shit about space, and we got to learn shit about all your family members who died from this and that disease that could have been saved, and wars, and we've got a lot of shit to go through after this. So,
wow, that makes me want to cry already. Yeah,
it's not that I don't feel sad. I feel actually happy and excited about this is what a time to be alive. I mean, to be able to witness the end of an age, an end of an era of humanity, watching that die, and then being a part of and involved in and experiencing the rebirth of a whole brand new situation. And
if we survive it as individuals, I mean. some of us will survive it, but a lot of people are not going to survive that. I'm not looking forward to that fallout. You know,
you guys hear this?
It could get really ugly in the meantime.
It will.
I don't like seeing suffering.
Can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
That the James Bond theme. I heard that it was the song. Age of Aquarius.
There you go.
Age of Aquarius, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Is there actual terminology, or like in that calendar type stuff that's a real age, or was
that's basic. Oh yeah, they knew what we were moving. That band, whoever wrote that, whatever executive shadow wrote those lyrics, or whatever happened, definitely knew this is the turning of the clock towards a little closer to the golden age. Not quite yet, but yeah, that's so. When I was talking about that cosmic gate that we're approaching, that's basically the implication is the next age of consciousness. So
I watched a video of a guy, was a military intelligence guy. This was recorded long ago, and he was talking about Project Looking Glass and how they knew and things were going to be happening. Wood. Is that the guy's name? His name wasn't on the video.
Bill Wood.
But Project Looking Glass.
Yeah.
Brown suit guy.
Bill Wood.
Yeah. The Project Looking Glass got all fucked up after 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what situation was put forward, nothing changed. It continued on the same path.
Time started to bottleneck all into one possibility. They realized that we were basically going back to baseline reality at that point, and the one timeline that would survive, which is just a frequency in the universe. People think of it as a timeline, but the one that would survive would result in all these euphemisms and terms, but spiritual awakening collectively of humanity. So they had to get in front of. Let me suggest something. If you remember, I was saying, these projects have gone so far as to where they actually affected time and space.
Mm-hmm.
So it ties into that, and it ties into, well, think about it. If you fucked up time, literally, right? Who would have the role of maintaining that? Wouldn't it be you who had that technology to fuck it up in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So these people have imprisoned themselves and now being the custodians of this fucked up situation where they're basically exhausted at this point. They want the truth to come out, but they don't want the ramifications. They understand what they've done. I'm talking about the highest of the high people. We don't know their names. You know what I mean? They want to heal the situation, ironically, that they caused, right? Which is a whole paradox for people on the surface. But they understand the ramifications of what's coming to them. So they're trying to do it in a manner that they're trying to get out of this karmic loop, this cosmic karmic loop. They're trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? That's not up to me. That's up to the Most High. What's that?
Are you saying that the evil people who fucked up the timeline are now trying to repair the damage?
I'm saying not all of them are necessarily evil. I'm saying in the sense that we think of evil, like from day one,
for their own good. That's evil to me.
Some of them, sure, yeah. Some of them, sure. Maybe all of them to start with, but at this point in time, there are aspects of them that, like I described,
like Trump.
Think about not even like Trump, but people we don't even know their name. I'm talking about, like, if you were in an unacknowledged special access program miles and miles deep into the earth in an underground facility, and some fucking German Nazi scientist was working on you. Like, I'm talking about those people. We don't know their names. The people who are actually turning on these generators for these supercomputers and all these crazy transdimensional systems that they either found and assembled that were from ancient times that haven't been disclosed to us publicly, or that they fucking like back engineered from something that they found and then built themselves. And now we have like some human alien hybrid technology. They've made creatures. They've made the gray aliens are not fucking like aliens that were born on some other planet. They're genetic hybrid AI fucking beings
kind
that were basically
experiments. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not what we think they are. None of this is what we think they are. So what I'm saying, though, the picture I painted with the situation they put themselves in is that they're exhausted. They don't want to do this anymore. And so part of this whole struggle is publicly, think of how many times you've heard that. Anytime someone is aware of this type of information, it's, oh, those fucking bastards. You know what I mean? But very seldom do you hear that angle. And so kind of I was going somewhere with that. But anyways, yeah, it goes deep, and it's a super convoluted, nuanced that's why I was saying earlier, it's not that we have to like forgive and forget, but we have to be understanding of some of this context that is a part of all of this. You know, it's not just, oh, they're evil, they want to fucking consume humanity and whatever. They're definitely out there, but it's a complex situation, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's we could, and it's funny. I mean, this real planned takedown thing. I mean, were they going on doing this stuff before JFK, or does that when kind of the thing started rolling? So. I mean, just from the political aspect.
I think that if you look, because JFK was naval intelligence before he was president. If you look into the whistleblowers from naval intelligence around that time period, who most of them had to wait the 40 or 50 years before there's some statutory thing where you're not liable under the secret oath that you take as part of being an intelligence officer, whatever it is. So they come out later in life. We got a lot of whistleblowers basically in the 90s and the 2000s and I should say 80s, 90s, and 2000s. At that point, they were old men, but these were, third-class seamen during World War II. People
My
who
dad was Navy back in those years.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you can talk about a thing.
If you think about
one story.
If you think about the way that Clinton, for example, is able to, we think about the body count, right? So you basically have this global network of assassins that these people use. And shit, I forgot where I was going with that.
Sorry, my kid wanted a good night.
No, that's okay. It's not your fault. I forgot where I was going with that. Anyways,
JFK disclosures and
naval intelligence. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying they were hired killers, or
had to wait 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, to disclose their old men.
Naval intelligence, basically. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. John McCain.
Okay.
His dad was an admiral for the Navy. Okay, so this is part of the hierarchy that was created to be able to respond to threats in real time in the event that you couldn't wait for a response from the president himself, right? So there was someone that had the role of, okay, if we're fucking in a spot, this person, which was the admiral of the Navy, Admiral McCain was John McCain's dad, John McCain the first or whatever his name was. So he was a deep state player. He was neck deep state, right? That hierarchy of intelligence and military complex became part of, over time, it became part of what we know as this fucking secret club of, like, assassinry and things like that are carried out. And so basically my implication with saying all that is that the John McCain we know, which is the main villain of the Q drops, was handed that role from his father. And so John McCain wasn't a prisoner of war. That was a fucking propaganda lie. He was trying to avoid being extradited back to the U.S. and then court-martialed. That's why he staged the whole thing with him in prison. He was basically a warlord, an international crime lord. He was addicted to opium, little boys. He was basically the Hillary of the right.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a reason his flag was, well, not his flag, but there's a reason the American flag was wrinkled at his funeral, because he was
I heard that too. Yeah.
Yep. And there's 14 Q posts that mention McCain.
Yeah. And those are just the ones that say his name.
Yeah, McCain, yeah.
So you're saying we need to be thinking about
he's mentioned in way more
people, huh? Because they were programmed from birth. Essentially.
Some of them. I don't have a lot of hate towards a guy like Obama, not because of I'm trying to absolve him of what he's done, but when you're brought up as a programmed sex slave, I mean, what is reality to you at that point? When you're Hunter Biden and you make $1 gazillion every single year, but you have to ask for a few grand here and there to buy a hooker and some fucking blow, which those demons are his own problem. Like that's not my judgment, you know what I mean? But when you are subjugated to being a pawn in this grander scheme, you know, like what do
you expect them to blow off steam, right?
Yeah, he's being scapegoated for the entire system. That nobody really. It's just one of those things.
3 laptops.
I know. Yeah, and Pelosi. I mean, Pelosi has some laptops out there floating somewhere too. So
yeah,
heard that.
I don't know if I
like
talk.
What
are they? Berge hypothesized. Talking about bashing Flynn. Yeah, the Flynn had his own special secret intelligence operation for January 6th, and that Ray Epps was part of Flynn's intelligence team to start shit on the 6th, so his people could go in and steal the laptops. But
I heard that too.
Did he doing it for himself? Is he doing it for Trump? What if that is true? What would be the reason or purpose behind that? Who benefits?
I don't know. The Flynn thing is weird because Obama, first of all, he was promoted to head of the DIA by Obama because something happened before that, Benghazi. If you're a 3-star general, you have certain clearance, right? You know what really happened, right? So I don't know if it was a kickback or a winky wink or what. For some reason, Obama promoted him to head of Defense Intelligence Agency. But when Trump comes into office, they actually made a mainstream news made a joke out of it. They were like, yeah, Trump, Obama told Trump not to allow Flynn even in the building. And Trump thought he was joking. Right. Literally thought it was like he was being sarcastic, and he fucking let him in, and Flynn was part of his administration for 21 days. Right. And then so that's when he got railroaded by the justice system, basically, and then they put a gag on him for the next 4 years. So
yeah, I
don't really know.
Yeah, I mean there was a story. There's stories going around that was like you'd said. Obama said the biggest problems are going to be North Korea, and he mentioned Flynn. And there was one other thing I can't remember what it was. There was 3 things that during that meeting allegedly that they talked about was North Korea, Flynn was going to be. Flynn was dangerous, North Korea, and one other thing I can't remember.
Yeah, and we know North Korea was propaganda because who made a deal with him? Trump. So I don't know if we also didn't get any vocabulary on the situation from Flynn for that entire 4-year period. Until what was it, October 2020, right before the election, he was pardoned by Trump, and then all of a sudden, the last year and a half or so, he's a fucking, American superstar. Fucking
doing conferences, doing speeches every other day.
What happened there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Who knows? It's a really deep situation, and it has to do with Admiral Rogers, who was the 17th head of the NSA. He was the guy who told Trump, he approached him in his skiff and said, hey, by the way, they're fucking spying on your shit. And they wouldn't like it if I'm telling you this right now. So
NSA.
You're when you say 17, that was a complete Bernieism.
Bernie, yeah, I get that. I think I get it from him subconsciously. I'm like, hey, by the way.
That's funny.
Yeah, it goes deep, man. That's what the Q. Is basically the drops were just a big map for Operation Crossfire Hurricane, WikiLeaks, the cyber war with the CCP that Trump was in, hence the computer chip shortages and all of that economic, warfare, and then up until now, this foreign occupation. There's basically a map for all of that news.
And Julian Assange is still hanging out there somewhere.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he allegedly had a stroke in jail.
That's one of my biggest questions: is why did Trump not pardon him? And like you said, why is he not Epstein?
Right.
And what's preventing him from? Because people think Assange and Snowden are on like the same level of heroic. Snowden is a fucking bullshit artist from the NSA who created the very program he whistleblew about.
Right.
And then, he's in political asylum in Russia or something, whatever his story is. Assange is in Belarus fucking prison with no clothes. I'm being hyperbolic, but he's in a bad spot,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So that's
and the January 6th people have never been indicted, and they're being treated horribly as well. Just
I know.
About.
Well, that's
like
part
the
of
people abandoned in Afghanistan. Just fucking forgotten about.
That's part of the Q intelligence as well, is that it was common knowledge. There was even a January 5th, 2001, the day before January 6th, there was an executive order that showed Trump's administration had infiltrated Antifa. Okay? And so that was mapped out all throughout the Q posts as well. How do you fucking prevent riots and National Guard? All the rhetoric in the Q posts about National Guard and riots was about them infiltrating Antifa because they couldn't publicly, they were like being railroaded from publicly labeling these groups as domestic terrorists because of the war that was going on. So so they had to do all this shit covertly. It's interesting, but here we are.
I'm spent. I just looked down and realized it's 1:42.
Yeah, I think we lost some time there.
Man, we advanced through time. We advanced through time for sure. It was a time warp.
Yeah. This was incredible. I learned a lot. I don't know if I shared anything with the two of you, but you two really opened my mind to a lot.
But I thought I had a lot. I thought I had a lot of research to do. Now I just got piled on even more.
I know, me too.
I wrote Van Herrick. Do you know how to spell his name? Van Herk.
Van Herk. Yeah. Capital VAN, big HERCK. I think it's Van Herk. And interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure he's tied something to do with the Army, something to do with the battalion in Virginia. That the other.
Oh, the 800.
Oh, wow.
800?
Yes. If you look into his, I think you can find that kind of info on like his Wikipedia. So I'll post some. I'll do some deep dives and post some links to that for sure.
Things that I wrote down Van Herk's name. I wrote down Rudolph Steiner.
Yeah,
Thomas Cohen.
Yeah.
Memorandum 57.
Yeah.
And then Ron's contribution was the Ukraine-USA treaty. I got to look into that.
Yep.
Yeah, write those bullet points down.
Let's do this more often. We got to get the absentee.
I really like that.
We got to get Bruce Third.
B3, yeah.
B3, we got to get him on board. He keeps checking out.
I'll get him shit tomorrow. I get to babysit Liam tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Or
right
actually in a few hours.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well,
appreciate it very much. You guys have a great night.
Much.
Likewise. I'll see you guys online.
All right.
I'm a fat kid in
Bye,
dodgeball. I'm out.
Bye.
Later.
How do you end this shit?
See you, Bruce.
See you, ciao, man. Thanks.
Likewise. Later.